The ceremonial opening of the House is a colourful occasion, which highlights our tradition of doing things the British way, with all its pomp and circumstance. The presiding member was the father of the House, Joe Vosano. He started proceedings with members then taking the oath of allegiance, and the House unanimously approving a motion to reappoint Adolfo Canepa as Speaker. Fabian Picardo described Mr. Canepa as a man of political and professional integrity. For his part, Daniel Feetham said that despite past differences, a fresh and renewed opposition was supporting him.
It is my earnest hope that Parliament should be held in high esteem by the electorate, the people whom we are here to serve. Accordingly, I want to appeal to all honourable members and urge them to try to conduct our affairs in this House with the respect, responsibility, and dignity that befits the mature democracy that we are, and that, lest we forget, took so many years of sacrifice and struggle to achieve. I suggest that honourable members owe it to this community to temper their language whenever debate becomes overheated and concentrate more on the substance, thereby raising the standard and quality of parliamentary exchanges. Perhaps honourable members should reflect on the fact that the turnout at this last general election was around 10% lower than in the previous 3 general elections. I think that the electorate is conveying some message to you all.
The Governor, Alison Macmillan, representing the Queen, was received with a royal salute. And then she inspected the Guard of Honour. In her address, she gave an overview of the legislation needed for the implementation of the government's new programme and said she counted herself fortunate to have witnessed the election.
If debate is the hallmark of a democracy, its health is measured by the proportion of the eligible population who vote without being compelled to do so. By such a measure, Gibraltar must sit comfortably in the gold standard. Although the turnout may have fallen short of some of Gibraltar's historic peaks, it nevertheless gave yet another object lesson to some older and larger democracies. Whilst candidates may contest and voters may select, the legitimacy of the election depends absolutely on its conduct. From the preparation of the electoral lists to ensure that those eligible to vote could do so, through the management of the polling stations, to the verification and the count. Here too, Gibraltar showed that when excelling becomes the habit, implementation to the highest standards risks being taken for granted.
For his part, Fabian Picardo said the governor's address was no longer the speech of an administering power telling a legislative council how to do it, but one prepared in consultation with the Chief Minister along the lines of the opening of the Parliament in Westminster by the Queen in the United Kingdom. He said this was a sign of a mature constitutional development. He added that despite an aggressive campaign of attempted usurpation of our rights and recolonisation of our home, Gibraltar had not had its spirits dampened, but had been spurred on to greater things. The Chief Minister added that despite the challenges, the ROC's social, economic and political development had been able to progress. He reiterated his government's willingness to establish non-sovereignty talks with Spain. Welcoming the new members of the House, Fabian Picardo also advocated a less adversarial style of politics, saying they should all strive to avoid unnecessary confrontation. He highlighted the importance of access to parliamentary business, saying this government had done much to open this up.
Your Excellency, what people will expect those of us appointed to serve to work together in a positive spirit of cooperation, as we will often be doing in respect of legislation. One committee will be looking in detail at the workings of this House and how we can further modernise and advance the integration of our community in the running of our affairs. Technology will no doubt have a bigger part to play in promoting greater public participation in our democracy in the future. That Select Committee on Parliamentary Reform has important issues before it. Not least should be the review alluded to by Mr. Speaker of the standing orders and rules of this House, which were last reviewed after the 2006 Constitution. But the review was not one of substance, rather one of form. A review of substance is necessary and should also take into consideration the need for Parliament to attract people from all walks of life to the ranks of its membership.
Meanwhile, opposition leader Daniel Feetham began his speech by congratulating the Speaker on his reappointment, saying he hoped any reservations the opposition may have will have disappeared by the end of his tenure. He reiterated his call for closer cooperation between the government and the opposition, especially on such an important issue such as Brexit and its effects on Gibraltar. Any project which has continuity at its core in areas of fundamental importance, he said, will stand a better chance of success with the inclusion and backing of all elected parties. But he vowed to continue to hold the government to account and promote alternative policies, trying to strike the difficult balance, he said, of opposing the government when necessary and supporting it when justified.
I renew my long-standing call, which is a matter of public record, for us to work together. Let us be an example to future generations of politicians of the way political differences can be set aside when it comes to such issues. It will reassure the community that our adversarial system of government and opposition is not so entrenched so as to be incapable of cooperation for the long-term common good of our community. Indeed, I believe it would be desirable in the interest of that common good if we could see our way to agreeing long-term strategies on taking our message, our political message to Spain, the United Nations, Europe, and the United Kingdom. Never has it been so desirable as it is today, because never have the combined potential consequences of those challenges been more fundamental to Gibraltar than they are today, and our response to them will endure long after the honourable gentleman and I have retired from politics.
Parliament was officially declared open for business with a 17-gun salute.